You are listening to The Robert Scott Bell Show.
These days, it's more important than ever to know where our food and supplements come from. That's why at Plus CBD Oil, we believe it is critical to manage every step of the supply chain process. It all starts with certified hemp seeds. Our hemp grows tall, like bamboo, and is harvested within 3 months. After harvest, the hemp is dried and sent to our CO2 extraction facility, where our raw formula is extracted. The extracted oil is then lawfully imported to our state-of-the-art in-house laboratory in San Diego, California. There, we convert our raw formula into our total plant complex and gold formula oils. Our oils are then used to formulate our award-winning Plus CBD oil product line. The products are then tested for cannabinoid content and the absence of harmful substances. But we go one step further. We then send our products to a third-party laboratory to verify concentration, quality, and safety. After that, the products have finished their journey and are ready to be shipped to your local health food store. Because at Plus CBD Oil, we believe how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why, from seed to shelf, we are committed to providing safe and effective hemp CBD products for you and your loved ones. It's our promise to you. Learn more about our commitment to full traceability at pluscbdoil.com.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
Hooray! Chicken Little returns as a guest here on the Robert Scott Bell Show today, every once in a while. Actually, we usually have Chicken Little on at least once a year when the CDC makes its pronouncements of this year's flu shot. Everyone's going to die. The sky is falling. No, what's falling from the sky are things that are giving you the flu. Yeah, no, I think they spray it on you. Maybe you spray it on yourself. Maybe it's all the crap you ate since Halloween last year. The flu season, worst ever. It's coming. I'm not kidding. Well, I would be kidding if I said it, but they're pretty serious about it. Check it out in the show notes. It'll link to this article to kick off today's show. 2019-2020 flu season on track to be especially severe, new CDC data suggests. And of course, if the Centers for Disease Creation say it, it must be true. Yeah, clearly. They said it. They've been saying it every year. They've never been wrong. Wait a second. They're pretty much wrong every year. It's not flu season, y'all. It's flu shot season. Welcome. Yes, 2020, January, right? That's when it really kicks into gear. A couple of weeks after the Christmas holiday, when you go out and you indulge in all the wonderful food. Hopefully it was organic, but even if you ate too much good organic food, it can upset and imbalance your terrain, your microbiome, subjecting you to what? Vulnerability to things that are traveling around you, sneezed upon you, or things that you didn't even catch, you co-created by abusing your gastrointestinal tract, right? You put it in your pie hole, now it's coming out your nose hole. Is there a funny name for a nose hole, like a pie hole? Because you don't normally put pie in your nose, do you? By the way, last night it was funny. I just have a quick meal aside discussion. My wife, she's amazing. I wouldn't be alive without her. Feeding me, feeding the family. She's incredible. And she's always saying, what do you want for dinner? I was like, honey, you put it in front of me, I'm going to eat it. I'm just honest about that. And she's like, is it good? I love your food, everything you eat. Yesterday, she made some kind of leftovers from Christmas but she promised that I would tell you that the Christmas turkey was frozen. So it wasn't like it was sitting in the fridge for a couple of weeks and then she did. No, it was frozen. She's made some turkey soup that's been great. Yesterday, I have no idea what she made for dinner. And I still don't know what's in it. I took a bite. I'm like, I don't really taste much. And it's funny, and I bring this up this is not a critique of my wife because she's amazing, but I'm very enthusiastic about her meals. They're healthy. They're the rainbow colors, not from the Skittles, but all the vegetables and all the things that we get. And usually it's the kids that complain a little. They're like, oh, not that again. We have to eat healthy again because all organic, but you know how kids are. And so I'm sitting with her and eating. I'm like, that really didn't taste like much, honey. And then the kids come in and say, that was awesome. That was the best meal ever. I'm like, what are we missing here? My taste buds were turned. I don't know anyway, as an aside, I probably ate a lot of it too because it was good, but it didn't taste like, I'm just saying, and my kids decide that was the meal they like. I don't know. You can't win in this regard, but I thought I'd share it with you. Maybe you have experiences like that in your family. But if you're eating organically grown foods, not abusing your body, you have access to whole food selenium and chromium and silica and beta-glucan. And if your kids are too young to swallow the beta-glucan capsules, then you have the beta-glucan gummies. Beta kids. If you have access to bioactive silver hydrosol, you're not afraid of flu shot season because first, you're not going to get the shot. And second, you're not going to get the flu. Now, as they predict, once again, this is going to be the worst ever, just about. It's almost like 1918. Every year, this is the year it's going to happen. And they're saying it's already on track to be one of the worst in years. This is according to who? Well, not the WHO this time. It's the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NIH, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the guy who can't get fired. He's like king for life at the NIH, which is part of the NIH. Can you imagine getting a job and going, you know what? You can do whatever you want as long as you're promoting vaccines and big pharma. You can never be fired. This guy is that. He's like an emperor within our bureaucratic oligarchy, Tony Fauci. He's never met a vaccine he didn't like or endorse. And he's been big on the HIV scam for many years as well. And he says that this year is on track to be as severe as the 2017-2018 season, which was the deadliest in at least a decade. Do you know anybody that died of flu personally that year? I didn't hear of any. It was that the year, I wonder that they maybe a few years earlier where they tripled down and said 100 million people died. It was like a ridiculous number. 22 million people died. It's like, where were all the body bags? Where was all, it's like they just say what they want to say to get you to be frightened, even in retrospect. Remember that? Well, you didn't pay attention. You were lucky you lived. And of course, this season, no different than any other in reality, that people are coming in with flu symptoms, or will I say flu-like symptoms, and who is definitively identifying that they're actually suffering from rapidly replicating influenza viruses. Where is that evidenced? I don't see it anywhere. Not in this article, not anywhere. And once again, we've reported on the CDC after they realized that people weren't really getting the flu. After they checked their blood, they're like, well, let's just stop looking. Cheryl Atkinson did that some years ago. It's like, what? You stopped looking? And then they pretty much shut her down and said, you're not welcome here anymore on CBS. So here's the CDC tweet. You can see preliminary flu burden estimates. 27 of those the deaths they claim were now by kids. But again, is it the flu, rapidly replicating influenza viruses, or complications from any number of respiratory ailments, gastrointestinal disturbances, and the subsequent treatment and suppression of those symptoms by modern medicine? The pharmaceutical church delivering another level of sacrament. If you didn't take the vaccines, they'll come in with scammy flu or Tylenol or antibiotics, which will destroy your immune response and not address a viral infection, but will, of course, address a secondary bacterial infection, maybe, but also destroy your immune system all the while. This is what we do on the Robert Scott Bell Show. We call out the things that are not called out by any other media outlet that I'm aware of. Certainly not mainstream, but much of talk radio is this kind of discussion about the scam of flu and flu shot season every year. very rarely discussed. They're all in on this. And now the latest thing is Oprah Winfrey. I don't know if you've heard about this. We haven't covered this. There was another big vaccine, I could call it protest. All of those signs that Josh Coleman developed were out there with Justin and some of our friends in Florida. She was at the, I don't know what big in Fort Lauderdale arena. And her tour now to promote the pneumonia vaccine or something like that. She's like, I had this horrible pneumonia, and if I had only had the vaccine. What a scam that is. It's like all the people that love Oprah. Oprah has sold you out, just as your Democrat buddies have sold you out to the pharmaceutical church for profit, for money, for what, pieces of silver or something? Probably not. Man, maybe. I mean, Oprah's pretty wealthy. I don't think she's wealthy of spirit anymore if she's willing to sell her soul to the pharmaceutical industrial complex. If indeed there was a point that you could point to her and say, hey, yeah, she's doing good work. She's a nice lady. She's giving away cars to people. But right now she's promoting a big pharmaceutical agenda as she's touring around the arenas in the United States. A pro-vaccine agenda. Why, Oprah? Why? Maybe that's to counteract Ricky Gervais and his statements of the Hollywood elite, of which Oprah is, even though she's not in Hollywood, she's definitely one of those elites. So the graphs are telling us the flu season's bad. Every year they say the flu season's bad. Every year they end up reporting that the flu shot didn't match as well as we had hoped. It may be 10%, 12%, 15%, but it's still the best thing going. And if it only matches, 10 to 15 to 20%, do you have to get it 5 or 10 times to hopefully get a match? No, it's the same strains that are wrong to begin with. It won't matter how many shots you get. Unless you have a cancer tumor. Yeah. What, Robert? What do you mean a cancer tumor? I'll get to that in a moment. But there's a secondary story here I want you to see about an ER doctor who says he's not surprised or wouldn't be surprised if this flu season goes down as the worst in decades. And this ER doctor out of Toledo, Ohio area says more people are testing positive for influenza than normal. It may be because of shifting weather and temperature in Ohio. Really? The weather, the temperature, that's what causes flu? These people blame the weather, right? Yeah, it's the weather. Well, can we blame the weather man or the weather woman? No, it's your immune system that is weakened by what you do. It isn't even necessarily exposure. If you think it's exposure, how many of you have been in touch or in concert or like say in proximity to someone who's already had a cold or a flu-like symptom? And how many of you, just because you were in that proximity and you know you're breathing the same air, have succumbed to a cold or a flu? Some of you maybe. But I think in the Robert Scott Bell Show audience, the vast majority of you not, because you know how to modulate your immune system. You know how to keep your immune system strong. And I'm not saying dive into a vat of snot that somebody's nose just wiped off onto something. No, that's stupid. Although that might be a safer way to inoculate yourself. That's another story. Oh, I won't even go there. That's kind of gross. I know. But that's why you tune into the Robert Scott Bell Show, for some gross stuff, right? Y'all admit it. You like to be grossed out occasionally. We know Super Don and me, we're like 10-year-old boys. Just let's talk about snot and stuff. We'll get there. If we haven't already. So back to this latest article about the influenza that's going around, right? Flu season, which states are the worst? Where you got to go run and get your flu shot? It's not yours. It's not mine. It's somebody else's. But they say it peaks in January, February, and March because you've already abused your body in October, November, and December. Let's see. What else we got here? Some of the figures from Lucas County Health Department about this season. 70 people, that's in Ohio, hospitalized due to flu symptoms. 37% pediatric. 20% are infants. How many of them have gotten the flu shot already? Let's be honest. They're not reporting that number. 77% of the hospitalizations are from influenza B. They're claiming, in this case, they're finding evidence of influenza B. The question is not that it's present, but is it rapidly replicating, or is it some kind of PCR analysis that doesn't tell you really that it's an active infection, right? Just that you might have been exposed. I wouldn't be surprised when springtime rolls around. We're all hearing it's the worst. Again, this is all just conjecture. This is I don't know. Wash your hands. Don't share drinks. Avoid sick people. Wear a mask. Get your flu shot, right? Officials. The official story is you must get your flu shot even though they suck, even though they don't work. That's always the official story, isn't it? So, are you panicking? Are you freaking out? Or are you doing silver hydrosol prophylactically? 1 teaspoon 3 times a day. Simple as that. Here, I got the kids' version right here. Spray it in their mouth every day, 3 times a day. Beta-glucan. Selenium. Up the selenium, and you are less vulnerable to succumb to any circulating viral infection, if they want to call it that. I really dispute viral causation as a cause of anything. It's more or less the result of that which preceded it. The weakening of the immune system through ignorance, through arrogance, through abuse of your body, your GI tract. So as more people wake up to the nonsense of the flu shot and say, not for me, not for mine, not for my kids for sure, how will they market the flu shot in the future? I mean, isn't that a real question somewhere out there? Because you don't think they'll give up on it. I mean, if they were going to give up on it, they should have given up on it after, let's be generous, the 1975, around 76, the swine flu debacle of the Gerald Ford years, where he rushed this into production because we were going to get hammered by the swine flu. And it turns out the shot that they brought to market caused more problems and deaths than any flu that year. Guillain-Barré, that was probably the first time most of you, if you're old enough, heard about this GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, that caused paralysis after this shot. Now, you think that the CDC would have said, you know what, we really screwed the pooch on this one. We need to rethink this annual flu shot push because it's not helpful. In fact, it's harming people. But because they're not interested, nor is the FDA interested in protecting your health, they're interested in protecting the health of and profitability of the industry that has captured them. They doubled down, and each and every year since then, we've seen the flu shot propaganda ratchet up, more absurd levels. But it'll only last so long unless, of course, you succumb to the real ID pressure, get that gold star on your license, and then they change the rules of the game. And they say, hey, you know, you got your real ID, you fly a plane, but not anymore because now, hey, it's flu season, there's an emergency this year. And unless you get a flu shot, and it says so by the biometric connection to your social security number and other numbers that are unique identifiers to you and your medical records, I'm sorry, sir, we scanned your ID right here at TSA. It says you have not gotten your... Well, by the way, we have a nurse standing by right here. If you get it, not that it will affect anything on this play, but hey, it's what we do for Big Pharma because if we didn't, they would go out of business, don't you know? Do you see where this is going? You're not going to get the flu shot. I know, you know. So they have to find a backdoor way to mandate it. Now, if that doesn't work, then what's next? Cancer. Cancer is next. I'm not kidding you. Cancer is next. No, are they going to say the flu shot causes cancer? No, they're going to market the flu shot as the cure for cancer. I am not exaggerating. Once again, friends, no, we don't do hyperbole and exaggeration here on the Robert Scott Bell Show unless we're doing a skit of some kind, an improv. No. Well, we're going to get to that, but here, this is the one I want you to see right now. Can the flu shot help fight cancer? Why is that even a question? It can't prevent the flu, but hey, maybe it'll shrink your tumor. Really? Is this not a spoof website? Is this not the Onion I'm reading from? No. Changing the microenvironment of tumors to increase the immune system's response to them has been the goal of countless research and clinical studies, including the most recent use of checkpoint inhibitory antibodies. The majority of patients have tumors that are cold, quote unquote. That is, the tumors don't contain many immune cells, or they have cells that suppress the ability of the immune system to fight them. Oh my gosh, y'all. This is amazing. This is this is one of the slides I've been presenting for many years when I do general health talks. One of the things when I say, people say, "You're not a doctor, Robert. What do you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm proud I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a renegade homeopath with an occasional bad attitude." But no, I'm not a medical doctor. Never pretend or claim to be one. People call me doctor, and I say, okay, that's fine if you want to call me that, but recognize the name, the term doctor is defined appropriately as a teacher, as a healer, I'll accept that. But no, I'm not a degreed medical professional. If I were, I'd be stupid enough to inject flu shots into your tumor. Or worse, what UC Davis doctors did many years ago, where they injected fecal matter, crap, into the tumors, brain tumors of unsuspecting patients. And their theory was, if we inject them with crap, I'm being nice by saying crap, not what I want to say, that maybe we can alert the immune system that there's a problem there and the immune system will go after it. So doctors with crap for brains want you to have crap for brains as well by injecting now, not crap necessarily, although who knows what debris is really in a flu shot. But they want to inject flu shots into tumors to make them hot, so that maybe the immune system will then attack and shrink them. And they have some evidence that maybe that happens a little bit. But if you have, I'm sorry, I can't believe I'm doing this story. They're coming back with injecting your tumors with flu shots. This is what they're promoting. I'm almost verklempt. I got to take another shot of tea. Speaking of that. Got my organic yerba mate and mint today, organic mint today. This is nice. On top of my dandelion. So here, I'm going to go back to the article here just so you can see I'm not making this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. This is crazy. Increasing immune cells with a tumor can change it from cold to hot within a tumor. More recognizable the immune system. Hot tumors show higher rates of response to treatment, and patients with such tumors have improved survival rates. Okay. You want to go down this road? Mercury? Likely, even if it's a so-called mercury-free flu shot, it's still going to contain mercury. And mercury can actually cause cancer, contribute to cancer. And this is what we get from our degreed medical professionals. Like, I wonder what would happen if we inject, name the crap you want to inject into a tumor to make it hot. Now, the question is, why is it cold? Why is the tumor there to begin with? Oh, we can't be bothered with that. That might mean we need to recommend our patients eat organic, non-GMO foods. We might need to recommend liver detoxification. Oh my gosh, the skep ducks are exploding their heads right now to acknowledge that cancer is a disease of toxicity, and then we might have to recommend supplementation of selenium, of chromium, of silicon, and other substances that can prevent and reverse cancer tumors. Supplementation? Oh my gosh, quackery! I say quackery! Remember, the article's coming out now about supplements. Oh, don't take supplements if you have cancer, you're going to die. The increased rate of mortality is real. Never differentiating between the type of supplementation, they sort of acknowledged at the end of the study we covered yesterday that the numbers were so few that it was really not something we can hang our hat on, but the headline sounded really good. Don't take supplements if you're getting chemo. Oh, they can't handle it if you don't fall prey to the chemo church, like the vaccine church. Injecting tumors with flu vaccines. You going for it? Well, if it's not going to protect me from flu, I'm used to getting a flu shot anyway. Why don't they just inject it into tumors? Have they analyzed the carcinogenicity of any of the substances within a flu shot? Oh my gosh. Did I ask that question? I must be anti-science. How dare you, Robert, ask a question that would challenge the belief in injecting flu shots into cancer tumors as to being a great idea. It's only marginally better than injecting crap literally into the brains of people, or than tumors within brains of people that are suffering so. No questions asked about the reason why tumors exist. No questions asked about why the immune system is unable to keep that in check or target it. I get it that they're stealth cells. Cancer sends out false signals. I know that. But the question still remains, how did you get it in the first place? And why isn't modern medicine, with all of the billions and trillions of dollars that they brought in over the 20th and now 21st century to so-called, well, we're going to find a cure for cancer. As long as it's a toxic injection or chemo or radiation, or if we could surgically cut it out of you, then it's okay. Selenium, despite all of the peer-reviewed medical literature, we can't say it. Don't you dare say it in the health food store. We will come and get you. We will shut you down. I've said it for so many years. This is entering my 21st year of broadcast media here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. And, one of the recurrent themes is freedom, health, freedom. It's like, okay, maybe you believe that injecting a flu shot into a tumor is a good thing, and you'll sign up for that. But what if you don't? Do you believe in restricting the freedom of others to choose a different path? Well, it's kind of like the pro-vaccine mandate forces. It's not enough that they believe in vaccines and you don't, for instance. It's like, nope, not into freedom. And of course, they'll call us, oh, that's the ruse of health freedom, just so you can scam people. The health freedom angle, just so you can be anti-science. Like these people that don't ask questions are anti-science. They're in a dangerous pharmaceutical death cult of injection. And if people reject the vaccines, we'll just inject them into the tumors. By the way, when we had Dr. Batara on a weekly basis for many years doing advanced medicine, he had developed a vaccine against cancer using the patient's own cells, which is way better than anything that they're doing by injecting flu shots into cancer cells. Remember, cancer tumors grow and then potentially metastasize via enzyming their way, chewing through connective tissue. And if you don't have adequate quantities of silicon, the trace mineral, silicon, that's the integrity of your connective tissue, depending on that mineral. And I'll hazard a guess that not one oncologist in the United States of America that uses chemo, radiation, or surgery says, hey, patient, Mr., Mrs., whoever, you know what? You need to up your silicon intake, because that will help reduce the likelihood of growth of the cancer and or metastasis of the cancer. And by the way, what is that tumor to begin with? Is it walling off toxic metals or components that the body can't otherwise deal with and excrete, and it goes, well, let's build something around this. And then they call it a tumor, and then they kill you with the treatment. These questions are far too reasonable. But as I said, each time I ask them, another skeptic's head explodes. But apparently, some of them are wearing special tinfoil hats in their mother's basement so theirs don't explode. They just get mad and they do mean tweets at us to show their displeasure with us advocating for questioning that which is their religious belief or mantra. Cancer, chemo, cancer, radiation, cancer, surgery. There is nothing else. Oh, there's so much more. There's so much more. But we only have 2 hours a day, 6 days a week to fill it. And then some, I guess, perhaps. We do a little more than 2 hours a day, weekdays for sure. And on Sundays, we're on GCN. For those of you who are new to the Robert Scott Bell Show, this is the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty. And you can go to robertscottbell.com, robertscottbell.com. Check out the show notes today, talking about flu shot season, Flumageddon fear. We got Curtis Koss coming up in the second hour. Great guy. He's brilliant. And I think he just had lunch with Bobby Kennedy today. We'll get the skinny on what he can tell us about that meeting. And let's see, what else we got today besides flu fear, flu shots for cancer. Oh, how about the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics? When you hear an AAP member talk about, let's see, autism? Yeah, that's it. You'll hear them say, vaccines don't cause it. Period. End of report. But is that the official party line statement of the AAP? We're going to visit that too in a moment. We got a lot of things to do on the air, and I'm grateful that you all are here. I hope and pray that you're sharing the good news, the happy messages, the empowering messages. Yes, anti-establishment. Yes, anti-authoritarian. Yes, anti-official stories. Unless it's Liam Sheff's book, Official Stories. Then we're pro-official stories, the book. Y'all can read about it. Also, you can check out the book I wrote with Ty Bollinger a few years back. It's still great, and it's got a lot of great insight. It's called Unlock the Power to Heal. You'll see it to the right in today's show notes of Curtis Koss' picture and where we're going to go with Curtis. We got some controversies in terms of pro-vaccine forces in New York, what they're intending to do next. And it's not just vaccines. They want to put all blacks and Latino kids on anti-AIDS or HIV drugs. Again, another layer of scamming you that we have to encounter, we have to undo, we have to counteract. And it's just, a little teeny weeny slice of the media that we got here. We might be reaching one or two people. But heck, if you're that one or two people, could you be two? Then it's all worth it. Because, if we're not defending, protecting the ultimate minority, whether it be Hispanic, black, or whatever, the ultimate minority has nothing to do with your skin color, pigmentation, or lack thereof. It's the individual. The ultimate minority is you. The ultimate minority is me. And defense of the individual, the ultimate minority is your child. The defense of that individual is the most important defense we can muster. The collective greater good nonsense is a communistic, socialistic, propagandizing message to disempower you and to have you sacrifice your children or even yourself on the ash heap of history for the benefit of a pharmaceutical church construct that doesn't believe in liberty, doesn't believe in individual liberty, but runs roughshod over it and applauds you if something happens to your child. Oh, you took one for the team. How proud we are of you. You fought a good battle, but you took one for the team. Not here, not now, not ever, not on the Robert Scott Bell Show. But I would encourage you to look into all of the wonderful tools and trainings that are available to you through our friends at Trinity School of Natural Health, trinityschool.org. You want to get edumacated like me? You want to learn more and better things than I know? Check out Trinity and all their wonderful programs. They got them starting up really soon here in the new year, if not today, tomorrow, or the next day, but pretty quick. Check it out, and we'll be back with more powerful healing. Again, Curtis Costa's coming up. We'll hear from Super Don Naylor. Super D is here. We'll hear what's going on after this opening monologue, and thank you to our friends at Trinity School of Natural Health.
It seems like every fitness program today offers you a lot of promises. You've seen the marketing, the fad diets, the secret pill, the magic programs, lose 100 pounds in 3 months. Unfortunately, most of those trends do very little to actually support your body or your health, and some of them are even harmful to your body. At Trinity, we look at fitness in a much more realistic and honest approach. Our Holistic Fitness Specialist program emphasizes a full body strategy for the fitness professional. We focus on whole body nutrition, proper exercise selection for the individual, and supplementation that is actually beneficial to the body and not toxic. In this course, you will learn the physiological benefits of exercise, breath work, and mindfulness, dysbiosis and the connection to weight gain, performance, and recovery, exercise selection, intensity, and frequency, condition-specific exercise recommendations, fitness-based nutrition and supplementation for performance and recovery, popular diet plans including the ketogenic diet and their applications, emotional components of health, and natural performance-enhancing strategies. Fitness is more than just muscle strength and endurance. It's about improving the fitness of the physical body as well as the intellectual and emotional health, your whole self, body, mind, and spirit. If you have any questions or feel like this is the right program for you, please email or call us today and get started on your journey towards transforming the world.
All right, thank y'all for your tolerance and patience with me as I wax poetically with intensity on the nonsense that is the flu shot for cancer tumors. Super Don, are you sure that was a for real article or was I reading from The Onion? I got to know because it's like, really? They can't sell the flu shot to you and me, so it's got to be a cancer cure. Right?
That was for real, and I'm just waiting for the study where they're going to try Viagra on tumors, right?
Give your tumor an erection. Why? So it'll be a hot tumor.
Yeah, we'll throw some Prilosec on the tumor and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to repurpose drugs for something else. So,
wow,
that's what your cancer moonshot money got you, right?
That's right. Yeah, thanks, Joe Biden. Look, we're sorry about one of your sons dying. We don't tease people about that, but I mean, that was sort of his street cred. My son died of a cancer tumor, and then we're going to have a cancer moonshot. Y'all, unless you start looking into, I guess if you want to go into your own moon up your butt and look at the microbiome, that moonshot's not going to do a whole heck of a lot of good, especially if that moonshot is a flu shot. Because that's like, hey, we invested billions. We figured out the flu shot. You don't like it, but hey, we injected into tumors and they go hot. And your immune system that already is not working great will suddenly go, hey, there's a tumor. What can you do about it? Oh, well, I'm too tired. I couldn't do anything before. I just now know it's there, right? Which is the whole nonsense about vaccines. It's like if you're lucky, you alert the immune system via antigen interaction with antibodies. And then you say, I see the train coming an extra mile away, but I can't get up off the tracks because my immune system or my legs don't work. You know what I'm talking? This is what we're seeing here. So, I see that picture. You're going to say, hopefully we'll be able to air that, show that. RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy, and Curtis Cost having lunch today. We got Curtis coming up in a little while. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, they're now using a dewormer for cancer as well. You're not joking. You're not exaggerating, Super Don, when you say, what drug next will be a cure for cancer? Pretty incredible.
See that, a dewormer?
A dewormer, yeah. Not Dean Wormer, dewormer. You're on double secret probation, Super Don. Wow. Hey, maybe it'll work, okay? But again, if you don't address the underlying reason the cancer is there, you're still just treating with an allopathic mindset. And I look, I'm not knocking somebody if that's where they want to go. We're all about freedom here. And as I said so many times, Super Don, you know me. Even if I disagree with what you're going to do, I'm going to say, I want it to succeed, whatever it is. I don't want someone to die a horrible death of cancer or treatment for cancer. So unlike our skeptic, if we can call them counterparts, they're just like, oh man, we hope people die if they don't do what we say they have to do. It's like, these people are miserable people. They just are. So anyway. All right. Shall we? Did you like my dinner story, by the way? It was like turkey goop. I don't even know what it is to this day. It was like.
That sounds appetizing.
But have you ever had that experience where you're like, you appreciate your wife's cooking all the time, and then like that one time you go, I'm not sure, what is this? And then the kids go, this is finally something we like.
So what you were saying is last night for dinner you had tasteless turkey goop.
You know what? Maybe my buds were off because the kids loved it. I don't know.
He said it, not me.
Right? Yeah. Honey, it's not Super Don. I'm in trouble, not you. So you're okay. Anyway, I'm just curious. Has that ever happened to anybody else, or is that just me? I could be in the doghouse from this point forward. I don't know, but I thought I'd share because that's what we do here. We share because we care. You got anything you want to share, Super Don? No, not to get you in trouble.
Well, do vaccines cause autism? That'll get you in some trouble some places.
Oh, my wife just texted me. She says, you're lucky I love you right now. So, yeah. I have that good fortune. Thank you, honey. Thank you. And I hope somebody found humor in it because I wasn't really digging on my wife. She's amazing. As I said, I preceded it and my post comment. She's awesome. So let's see. What do we got here? You said, do vaccines cause autism? Was that your question?
It is.
Well, according to the AAP, they kind of claim that it doesn't. There's no way it does. This is an article from nodeception.org. Our friend Ginger Taylor who set this up, especially targeting those of you who claim to be Christian, to give you an insight, especially medical professionals that claim to be Christian, because much of what you do is, well, can we say not very Christian-like? That is injecting children with aborted fetal cells, animal RNA, DNA, etc., things you wouldn't put in a baby's bottle. You inject it and you claim it's perfectly fine. It doesn't harm you. That's kind of the point of nodeception.org, to educate those who want to live a spiritual life and maybe not aware of the hypocrisy of promoting vaccines. This deception, the American Academy of Pediatrics, does not claim that vaccines don't cause autism. Now, this is kind of a double negative. It's like, what? The American Academy say it doesn't. We don't claim that it doesn't cause autism. Now, of course, the statements belie that statement, weirdly enough. In March of 2008, Dr. David Taylor, president-elect of the American Academy of Pediatrics, appeared on the Today Show to discuss vaccines and autism and made a statement that I think any of the vaccines we have today have been tested and proven to be safe. And the credible studies don't show any relationship between vaccines and permanent injury. He denied all vaccine injury, including any possible link to autism. And right there on the page, you can look and you can actually see the video clip from that. Now, in January of 2017, the AAP posted a new statement. Claims that vaccines are linked to autism or are unsafe when administered according to the recommended schedule have been disproven by a robust body of medical literature. Okay, AAP, January 10th, 2017. Now, as Ginger writes, this is demonstratively false, as the full body of research has not disproven that vaccines are linked to autism. Only one vaccine, MMR, and two ingredients, thimerosal and aluminum, have ever been researched to look into links for autism. And guess what? All three have shown links. 13 vaccines on the CDC recommended schedule that have never been studied to see if they have a link to autism. So for them to say it's been proved or disproven, well, did you investigate diphtheria, Hep A, Hep B, Haemophilus influenza, HPV, seasonal influenza, meningococcal, pertussis, pneumococcal, polio, rotavirus, tetanus, varicella? No, those have never been tested to make that claim. They cannot make that claim, yet they do. And the members of the AAP, American Association of Pediatrics, by the way, if you have a pediatrician, you might want to rethink that, especially if they're members of the AAP. And their claim specifically about it's been disproven that vaccines, right, are unsafe when administered according to the recommended schedule. That's, again, another word I like, absurdity. In fact, it's codified into law by the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And that says, of course, vaccines are known to be unavoidably unsafe. Again, how do they overlook that? How do they overlook that? It's unavoidably unsafe. You're arguing that it's avoidably safe? Well, if you avoid them, then they're safe, I guess. Need I remind you that the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program has paid out over $4 billion? That's not enough for you, I guess, if you're still AAP going, oh, they're safe. Oh, well, it's a no-fault system. That's not really evidence that the vaccine caused harm or killed anybody. Can you say that with a straight face, doctor? If you can, you should go back to elementary school and start over. But it's also why I call it a medical degree, because you haven't got the sense God gave you to make a statement as stupid as vaccines have been proven to be safe and effective, and the CDC's recommended schedule has been tested for safety, and that all vaccines have been tested and proven not to cause autism. You make that statement, you're patently unable to even consider what science is, what its basic definition is. Let's see, what else is in this? Is a great article. I like this. Y'all check it out at nodeception.org, and you can go to robertscottbell.com, and it's right there. The article also lists, studies and provides links to the publications to allow parents and all those who administer the recommended vaccines to read the evidence for themselves. These studies don't show any link between autism and MMR vaccine, thimerosal, multiple vaccines given at once, fevers or seizures. And then they say, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to show you this. Because the AAP statement, again, is different from what most AAP members know and think. Note, when they say it's proven not to cause autism or anything else, they acknowledge that it's not an exhaustive list, that vaccine safety studies are constantly being conducted and published and may not be reflected here. So in those AAP statements, they say, while the studies they list show no link, they admit that they do not list all the research on the relationship between vaccines and autism. They don't have any papers, like the 158 papers supporting the vaccine autism link that are hyperlinked right in this article. They don't talk about really mercury at all. They don't talk about aluminum and other studies on that. And if we go into the recommendation from Ginger Taylor on this site, nodeception.org, she says, we strongly encourage disciples of Christ who are medical professionals to examine the safety and efficacy claim of these worldly organizations carefully, as well as the full body of research in detail, and to carefully walk, not as unwise men, but as wise. And then they quote Leviticus 19:11, you shall not steal, you shall not deal falsely, you shall not lie to one another. Unless it's an emergency. Remember that? Super Don, right? Then you're absolved of anything you do. We've laid down these principles, Super Don. God has laid down the tablets, Mount Ararat, all of that stuff, whatever you got. 10 Commandments, you got Levitic, whatever. You follow that unless it's an emergency. And then you can just ignore everything we've said.
Did you notice the small print on the bottom of the stone tablets?
I missed those.
With the 10 Commandments and then subsection A.
Did they have like a chisel font that was like 0.6 or something that nobody could see?
They're small.
Yeah. Oh, it was worn down over the ages with wind, erosion, and you just didn't know. We don't have to follow them because it's an emergency. Again, that's always the case, isn't it? It's amazing.
It's not that we're saying that in principle, that sometimes if there is an emergency situation in general, that you might have to take extraordinary measures to deal with emergency situations. Of course, I mean that's just
give me an example.
But
I got one.
Well, I normally would not bring my garden hose into the house. Now, if there was a fire in my house,
thou shalt not bring the garden hose into the house. I didn't remember that on the tablet either.
I would probably bring the garden hose in the house, put out a fire.
Right.
But under normal circumstances, I would, if my kids were still little,
again,
you don't bring that in the house.
False equivalency, because it's not a guiding spiritual principle to good living. It's just like one of those little common sense things. You can bring the hose into the house if you want. Not a good idea, but again, I get what you're saying. But if I'm looking at a principle that guides us, guides the universe, laws, immutable laws. And now here's one people will throw at me. See if this makes sense. Speed limit, whatever it is, 45, right? You got a heart attack victim in your car. You got to rush to the hospital and you're going to go 70. Now, some would say you're violating the law. I would say, no, you're not. You're violating a regulation of a commercial activity, which is regulated by the whole licensing thing. But yeah, you go, all right, it's an emergency. I'm going to go faster than the speed limit. But again, I
think that's still a good analogy. Potato, law, regulation. I get it. That's a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
Having grown up with a father.
That's a cop.
Who was a cop.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, I know that unless the cop was a real bleep, most cops would not write you a ticket for speeding as somebody is bleeding to death.
They have a discretion in that case.
I think that's a good analogy where, that in that case, yes, normally the law is such and such, but there are exceptions to the rule.
And at the same time, again, this is a regulation of a commercial activity, driving. If you do 70 in a 25 mile an hour zone, now you've engaged in what I would call reckless endangerment. Even if you think that these quote unquote regulations don't apply to you because you're not engaged in a regulated activity, at the same time, there's something called reckless endangerment. Now you risk killing other people while you're trying to save somebody's life. So there's a reasonable limit that they could go, you know what? I realize that you were trying to do something good, but that was out of sorts. You could have killed 100 other people riding through that school zone at that pace. So I just put perspectives on there for people to consider, digest, come back at me with. Let me know what you think. And no, I'm not mad at Super Don. I love when Super Don engages, especially when he brings the hose into the house when there's no fire, just for fun. Look, honey,
that's right.
I'm putting out the oven. It's not on fire. I'm cooking a turkey. All right. Let's get back to the next article that relates to vaccines and autism. Let's go to Spain. España. Spain. Wow. You know, when I talk about the World Pharmaceutical Church, the global church, the World Health Organization, pharmaceutical edicts, they have overwhelmed the entire Western world. Here is the Spanish government and the Spanish regulation of medical doctors. The Madrid Medical Association has barred Isabel Belostas from practicing for a year, basically, because she promoted a theory that has repeatedly been disproven by scientific studies. What did we just cover about the claim that autism and vaccines are not at all related? By the way, autism, we could say, is brain inflammation, encephalitis, just this catch-all phrase. But she actually said, you know what? She's a medical doctor, claimed to be a pediatrician. They banned her for a year because she says, yeah, there's a link. And she provides apparently false hope for the children, the parents of the children who have been injured by vaccines into the autism spectrum. And she says there's a way we can reverse it. How dare that doctor provide false hope, what they call it. Not only is it wrong that she says the vaccines are linked, but that she says she can actually undo some of that stuff where they don't acknowledge is actually been done. Now, this Spanish Autism Confederation apparently brought the charges anonymously. They won't reveal the doctor who complained. And they say their primary goal is to protect families from messages and practices that go against scientific evidence. Again, this is the church. This is the Inquisition. This is bad as the Spanish Inquisition when the Catholic Church started taking your head if you didn't convert or die. You hear that in this Islamic world. Happened in the Christian world years or centuries ago. And now it's happening in the medical world that has been captured. Even if you claim to be Christian within it, you are now engaged in the next level of a crusade to take out the doctors who dare to say the earth is not the center of the universe. Here is this woman, Isabel Balastos Escudero, and she is a well-known figure in anti-vaccine circles, apparently. She's a pediatrician. They claim that she claims it like she isn't. I don't know. I'd love to get her on the show. I bet her English is better than some people we know. This is amazing. In other online texts, the doctor espouses other popular pseudotherapy claims, they call it, which go against scientific evidence and can lead to serious health risks. In one, she says she was fired from a public center for informing parents of the existence of human fetal DNA in pediatric vaccines. Oh my gosh. She acknowledged one of the ingredients, and that's called, it's tantamount to promoting pseudotherapy. Who is promoting pseudotherapy? The medical associations in Spain that have gone after her. The Spanish Autism Confederation. It sounds like a pro-autism confederation. In other words, we want more autism because we're going to deny any link to vaccines, even though that has never been disproven. And at least 158 studies and counting show a link to the ingredients within vaccines and the resulting brain inflammation, damage, gut, and all of the associated things that happen. In April 2018, Barcelona Medical Association banned a doctor for 5 years for sharing and practicing with cancer patients a so-called Hamer method, also known as new medicine. Was that German new medicine? Again, what are they doing? Just as they do in the United States, the American Medical Association, state boards of medicine, they defend their brand. They defend their religious dogma. They defend their club, their elite club that says there shall be only one way to treat disease, and it shall go through us, and it shall involve toxic poisons, aka drugs, that are approved by regulatory authorities in our government, which, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, whatever they say no more, are purchased and captured by the very industry that wants you to promote them and wants you to have a monopoly so that the only treatment for those diseases are coming through those drugs. So it is not a unique American phenomenon. When I say the United States of Drug America, it is, Spain is now another officially sanctioned religion is pharmaceutical church. It's not Catholicism, as much of the Western world has fallen and tumbled already. The question is, will you stand up and recognize that it is a religious war? It is a war on your religious liberty. It is a war on your belief system. They want to replace your church with theirs. And it's fine if you believe in the pharmaceutical church, but if you start convert or die, and that's what they're doing with the pro-vaccine agenda, the pro-chemo agenda, it's convert or die. Or lose your kids. Nothing's good about that. It's one thing if they existed in a free market and they tried to sell you their ideas with integrity, not deception or force or fraud. But that's not the way modern medicine works. They cannot work in a free market because their global domination would shrink to the size of a shriveled up gonad that has been injected with flu shots. Yeah, I know that's a brutal, ugly thing to say, but it has to be said. With that, let's take a moment to say thank you to you and answer one of your questions.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, that is the question of the day theme that gets us banned in Brazil apparently. I don't know what it is about that song that they don't like us playing, but in Brazil, they can't see this show after the fact. It's worth it, though. I don't know. Maybe you can catch it on YouTube still, or Brighteon. It won't get banned there. Hi, Robert. Is there a particular parasite cleanse protocol you might suggest, and how often would you recommend doing them? This is from Mike. Mike, as far as parasitic cleanses, there are a lot of things that make your environment hostile versus hospitable to parasites. And of course, in a healthy human microbiome, you have a defense mechanism against a lot of parasites. Now, it's a broad question because we can talk about bacterial parasites. We could talk about other forms of parasites, higher order parasites, worms and things. So any number of things go in between that. And I will say, even utilizing the silver aloe protocol that I talk about in Unlock the Power to Heal, which involves half an ounce to an ounce of silver hydrosol, with the same amount or more of the aloe vera juice that I use, preferably, if you can have access to it. You can get it from Haley Nutrition, Stockton Aloe 1. I'll click on that and show you that. It's ALOE1.com. And you can find the raw aloe that I utilize because it's not preserved. There's no garbage in it. If you can make your own, that's fine. But if you can't, this is what I use. And if you can't get it for any reason, don't just use any clean, pure organic aloe you can get. But this is my favorite brand. And you use that silver and aloe, and you do it 3 times a day on an empty stomach. It's that simple. And that drives the silver, which has a broad spectrum antimicrobial activity, antifungal activity. Certain parasites are very vulnerable to it. But even by eradicating the bacterial food supply of higher order parasites, you can eliminate them in 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks, depending on the severity. Now, there are other harsh, intense herbal supplements, if you will, that you can put into your gut and your gullet to have a very aggressive act against that. Dr. Hulda Clark had those things, and there are others. And in fact, interestingly, frequencies that you can now program into the Echo Water, they provide a frequency, just like rife frequencies and things like that, much less homeopathic signature frequencies, that will help to alert the body to begin to expel these things. I remember the story Paul Baratero told us from Synergy Science about this, when they were experimenting with the Synergy Resonance technology. And there's a program that you have, it's the Echo Water now, the newer units. I don't know if they're retrofitting them or anything yet, but you can upgrade. In fact, they have you can program from your phone or your computer. You say parasites, and the frequencies go into the water. Within 90 seconds, you're drinking the Echo Water without the hydrogen and everything. But now you have frequencies, and suddenly this one lady in an hour came back, and she was like telling Paul what she found in the toilet, what was coming out of her that wasn't before, parasites. So there are a lot of ways to go there. Black walnut. I mean, there's some harsh stuff you can take, and I'm not against that. But it's a terrain issue ultimately. Are you a willing and receptive host, even if you're unconscious about it, to aberrant growths and imbalances in parasitic life forms? I think some have argued we all have some forms of parasites in us because we're in the world, and that's, exposure is going to happen. But what do you do? What do you do? How often? If you're in otherwise healthy shape, do the Silver Aloe Protocol once a year for a couple of weeks. And you can do the Cangest tea and follow up as well. That's from Alta Health Products, and you can get that from Jonathan at ChooseToBeHealthy.com. And once again, if you go to the website at robertscottbell.com, you can see Choose to Be Healthy right there. You get the Alta Health Products Cangest tea and all the wonderful things you can do with for parasites. Again, there are frequencies as well. Super Don, you haven't seen any parasitic poopy diapers happening, or the kids growing up without that, hopefully? Grandkids, I shall say.
Fortunately, haven't had to deal with parasites that I'm aware of. So
good.
Parasite free.
Excellente. Are we comment free? Shall we take a break? Is Curtis Cost lined up? Is he going to join us? You know how he is? He gets stuck in traffic all the time.
I was just chatting with him, so he should be connecting with us momentarily.
Okay, great. Well, we got a great discussion coming up in hour 2 with our friend Curtis Cost from New York. He was just having a dinner or lunch with RFK Jr. We'll learn about some of the things that they're planning and plotting, that which can be revealed. Oh, it's a conspiracy. Curtis Cost and RFK Jr. Uh-oh, what is it? We're going to find out in just a moment. You're listening to the Robert Scott Bell Show. Remember, archives available at robertscottbell.com. It'll take you to Brighteon, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, UK Health Radio, and more. And remember also, if you're not sure how to listen, those of you who are listening now, you figured it out. Hit the listen page. There's a tab at the top of the website. Takes you to our 24-hour audio stream. And also you can see when we're live on video, the Twitch video feed is going. There's even a phone number to call in that you can listen on the phone, so you don't have to use data while you're in the car. Plug it in through your Bluetooth or whatever you have in your car. And then all the other outlets that we've streamed live on video and audio. So we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back after this with Curtis Cost on the Robert Scott Bell Show, the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty, because the power to heal is yours.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Have you ever watched a movie with superheroes and villains? If so, you already understand the science of drinking hydrogen-enriched water and how to unlock true health. Allow me to explain. In our bodies, we have a natural struggle between superheroes and villains, with molecular hydrogen being the superhero and oxidative stress the villain. So how does knowing that give you the tools to unlock true health? Your body is naturally designed to fight oxidative stress through specific bacteria in the gut that creates hydrogen on their own. Pretty awesome, right? So why does this matter? Well, in most people, the hydrogen-creating bacteria is gone, and cancer and disease soon follow. So the real question is, why aren't we trying to fix this every day? Well, the answer is simple. It's hard. Even the most healthy of individuals who biohack take months or years to achieve this balance. But how do we get there without taking months or even years? After years of study and development, we discovered and designed the perfect technology that made it all possible. We call this technology Echo H2 Water. Within minutes of drinking hydrogen-rich water from our Echo Hydrogen water machines, you are back in control, balanced, and feeling amazingly hydrated and healthy. Having your own Echo Hydrogen water machine is kinda like having your own team of superheroes on call, always available to fight the villains in your body. Pretty cool, right? But don't just take our word for it. Get your Echo H2 water machine today and quickly bring your body into balance with hydrogen.
Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
Well, I'm pumped up today. I get even more pumped up when we have my guest, my buddy, Curtis Cost. I'd like to hang. You know what, dude, wherever you are, Curtis, I think we'd have a good time. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
And we got him joining us. But I got to show you, he's just hanging out, rubbing elbows with like some of the coolest people. I'm going to bring in a quick image. This was from yesterday. You see the Malibu ban in California on spring, but I've got to replace this image in real time here. It's the only way I can make this happen. So bear with me. We're going to show you something that Curtis did lunch today. That's let's see, the image capture, media files, browse, stand by. This is like happening in real time. There it is, and boom, there it is. Look at that. It's Curtis Cost having lunch with RFK Jr. How cool is that? Now, I don't know how that happened, if it was like you bumped into him and you grabbed him by the arm or you know, but hey, Curtis, this is totally cool. And I want to bring you into the mix right now. Let's see, clear that out. There you are. Curtis is back on the Robert Scott Bell Show. How are you, my friend?
Great. It's always an honor. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So obviously we're gonna do some follow up on the videos from the great Harlem vaccine debate, and we'll talk about how to get a hold of those. And I want to talk to you a little bit about another thing in your wheelhouse, because you wrote the book about some of the scams on HIV and AIDS, and obviously vaccines are dangerous. The first thing I have to ask you, give me a little insight. How did you hook up with Bobby Kennedy here in New York City? What was going on there?
Well, it was pretty interesting how it came about. It stemmed mostly from the Harlem vaccine debate, but he's been familiar with my work prior to that already. But he spoke at the forum that I had, but he didn't think I could. I was doing a TV interview with him, and I mentioned the Harlem vaccine debate that I was working on, and he stopped and said, "Look, I'll bet you $10 that the other side won't show up." And at first I was like, "No, Mr. Kennedy, I don't want to bet against you." I mean, but then I thought about it. I said, "Why not?" Okay. Because I told him, "Look, I've taken precautions to help ensure that we do both sides to show up." And then later, at some point, I thought about it, and I called and I asked if we could up the ante from a $10 bet to having lunch, and he agreed to that. And so I now super motivated to make sure that Harlem vaccine thing came off, and it did come off well. And to keep his end of the agreement, he had lunch with me. So
nice.
I tell you, I was stressing out for the past week or so. It's like lunch with Mr. Kennedy, Curtis Cost, a kid from the South Bronx, actually having lunch with a Kennedy.
Curtis has gone
Bobby
big
Kennedy,
time.
my idol.
Big time, Curtis. So what can you share? This is one of the things. Not everybody gets to have lunch with a Bobby Kennedy, the Bobby Kennedy in this case. There are people that go, is he for real? Why would he be doing this? I mean, he threw his political career in the whatever it is. People will say that he's not real. He's controlled opposition. You hear it all. And you got to spend some quiet time at lunch with the man. What are your impressions? What is your experience? What was it like? I really appreciate your perspective on things, because you've been in it for a while and you've seen through a lot of stuff.
Well, I can tell you he's a real warrior, totally committed, and he can be very down to earth. I was very nervous, but he kept the thing, very lighthearted, and we talked frankly about a number of different things. Some things I can't share, some things I can. But the issue, I put that specific question to him. I said, "Mr. Kennedy, you can do anything you want. You can retire. I mean, you've made your mark on the world already. What motivates you to go up against such giants like this?" He said, "Curtis, it's just like you. Once you read the science, you have no choice." And he was right. I mean, once you understand that children are going to die, other children are going to be crippled, some are going to be in a state of living in a nightmarish realm when they're severely autistic. That's not acceptable for me to have this knowledge and not try to warn others. And that's basically what he was saying. That once you know how serious things are, there's no turning back. If you have any, you didn't say it, but I assume basically saying, if you have some ethics. I mean, if all you care about is money and you don't get, but if you have any type of ethics, morality, any sense of humanity, there's no way you could objectively look at the science behind vaccines and not do everything you can to warn people against them, not to do everything you can to reverse these laws that are mandating people to be vaccinated. So he is definitely for real, and he's putting himself on the line, and he doesn't have to. And that is one of the things that I admire so much about him.
Yeah, if you think about the people that have accused him of being money hungry or money grabbing, it's like if he were, he wouldn't be doing this, because you are not going to get grants. You're not going to get any support from mainstream media. I mean, you're going to dry up all of your, so-called opportunities to really profit big time. But, the memes coming out of Hotez's and others of the world that are pro-vaccine fanatics are saying this is about a well-funded, orchestrated opposition, these anti-vaxxers. I'm like, dude, you understand how we're scraping by? Just by the grace of God and those that would support this message that see the mission and how important it is?
Well, my feeling is about Hotez and others like him is that they are irrelevant until they have the guts to get on stage and engage in a debate. Anybody can stay in the shadows and make all kinds of accusations. But once they're able to get on stage with Bobby Kennedy face to face and debate him, then they become relevant. Right now, they're just chatterboxes. It's irrelevant. And that's what I think. I mean, when I was in college, you have a position, you learn you must be able to defend your position. If you write a paper arguing something, you have to defend it. You have to be able to defend your argument in a debate, whether it's with your professor or other students. How does the rules change when you got doctors who are getting scholarships from the Gates Foundation and others, but they're afraid to get on stage and debate? If you're not going to debate, you're not relevant. And so I don't care what they really say.
Well, what I do is I care what you say, and there's an article here that I want to highlight right now. I'll show everybody on screen, those of you watching the show, not just listening. New York schools targeting Black and Latino kids for HIV-PrEP drugs, PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis drugs. And it says Curtis Cost has inside information. This is just a few days ago. This was published at the Fed Up Democrat. Dude, what's going on? We had Verstein, my friend, and your friend, who also attended and was part of the great Harlem vaccine debate. And she was going after Gorski for claiming that she and others were targeting black folks in Harlem on this issue of vaccination. But they're in fact people in the government. New York State Education Department are targeting blacks and Latinos. Talk to me about that.
Sure. One of the people who I happen to know and have a lot of respect for was telling me, we thought it was a casual conversation, but she would drift it to how her contacts within the Board of Education was saying that they were vaccinating kids in New York right now and doing it without the knowledge of the parents and without their consent. And they're giving them these HIV vaccines, and I believe she said HPV as well. I believe, don't hold me to that one. And I was shocked. I was stunned. And she said she would be willing to. I asked her if she would write up something, but she would have to do it anonymous. But no sooner did I have that conversation with her, I then read the report by Fed Up Democrat, where he was talking about basically the same thing, that kids are being given these medications without parental knowledge. And, I've done a lot of research on HIV and AIDS, and I have a whole chapter in my book on it. So I know firsthand how dangerous HIV drugs are, whether it's AZT, DDI, protease inhibitors, and the other things they put on the market. And this one is no different. I've not done extensive research on it. This is all happening real fast with a bunch of other things that I'm doing. But I'm already hearing that it can cause potential liver damage and softening of the skeleton, which are horrific. I mean, when things related to the liver and your skull and your skeleton, the bone, that's really bad. I mean, that's when you're at risk of dying and other terrible things happening.
Well, you talk about targeting. I mean, you're targeting blacks and Latinos in New York to give them pre-exposure prophylaxis, they're called PrEP drugs, which are toxic, deadly drugs, just given in lower quantities so as not to be so likely to induce death right away. And this is the history of AZT for those across the Atlantic. Yeah. They say it that way. We say AZT. And in fact, there's an article here that I think Gary Null had asked our friend from Rethinking AIDS to write about, let's see, is this the image here? Oh, here it is. Yeah. If you go to Wikipedia and read the story of AZT, and he wrote an article about the lies that are appearing on this page. It's absolutely extraordinary. And there it is. I'm going to bring up that page for everybody to see. We might have time to talk about it. I'm not sure. But at the rethinkingage.com website, David Crow wrote this article about the AZT Wikipedia page, unsafe despite the lies. I mean, they claim AZT is safe for babies. You should know AZT was a failed chemotherapy drug in the 1960s that was so deadly and dangerous it was killing healthy people, much less those who were given AZT for cancer. And so then they brought it back out for the so-called immune collapse of AIDS, despite the fact that you and I, Curtis, would dispute the cause of AIDS being HIV. The reality is, if you're going to, give chemotoxic drugs that are so deadly they kill cancer patients to people who have no immune system, the only way they're able to do that is by reducing the dose. And that's what happened later in the 90s after all those people were slaughtered from Freddie Mercury and others by AZT, not AIDS. They reduced the dose quantity or size, and suddenly people were living longer, and they said, hey, it's working now.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Basically, they realized that there's a lot more money to be made if they can keep them alive longer. So, so they reduced the dosage and continue to collect the insurance money. And it's I don't know, it's just stunning. I remember once I was on a panel in Harlem years ago, and I was talking about HIV/AIDS, and he had this brother guy on the stage, big, powerful, muscular guy, and he gets, I'm dying of HIV. I'm like, dude, look at yourself in the mirror. There's nothing wrong with you. I mean, just because somebody's bogus test says something is wrong with you, but of course, I don't know what ultimately happened to him, but if he followed the path of those drugs, well, he would get very sick very soon. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's stunning how monstrous some of the people in power, people we're told to respect, really are. They're putting up things that they know are poisonous, and they don't care. I mean, I organized the Harlem HIV/AIDS, the Harlem AIDS Forum years ago, and at that forum, one of the speakers was Lynn Gannett, and she was involved in the actual testing trials of the AZT drug, and she became a whistleblower because she saw that they were falsifying the data to make it appear that AZT was somehow beneficial, but the data was falsified, and that justified putting it on the market. So people died, but she got on stage, and you can look it up on YouTube, Harlem AIDS Forum, and she tells you right there she was part of the trials, and they were falsifying the data. And of course, I'm sure they're doing the same thing with this drug. But it goes beyond just the danger of the drug. Mm-hmm. I mean, HIV is a hoax. Anybody who hasn't done the research, I mean, do so. They can read my book or go to Virus Myth or countless others websites. Peter Disberg. There is no HIV. It started off as a disease of homosexuals who were engaging in a lot of promiscuous anal sex, which was traumatic. And to deal with that trauma, they took a drug called poppers, which was nitrate-based, and it brought on the exact same symptoms at that time that was called AIDS. The pneumocystis carinii pneumonia and Kaposi sarcoma. Those were the two symptoms that were defining what AIDS was. And eventually the establishment realized that they couldn't make any money off of a disease only affected homosexuals, so they expanded it to imply that heterosexuals could get it as well, that it wasn't a drug-related disease, but it was a sexually transmitted virus, and the whole scandal and falsification of data over that. But the bottom line is they want to give drugs to perfectly healthy kids who don't have anything, the off promise that in the future they'll be protected something. Well, I could do that right now. I could issue a vaccine against being struck by lightning, and I would have just as much credibility as they have. because I know most people aren't going to get struck by lightning. So, I mean, the small percentage you do, I still pocket lots of money.
Yeah.
They don't have to prove anything. Like HPV vaccine, well, it's going to work 50 years from now. It'll protect them from cancer. Wait a minute.
Unless
How do you
it
know?
doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a friend.
Where are the tests showing that?
Curtis, I have a friend named Bobby Russell. I don't know if you've heard about him, and I've had him on the show. He was diagnosed as HIV positive, went on AZT. It was devastating him, killing him. He woke up. He realized the scam. The tests are phony. And he got off of all of that, changed his diet, changed his lifestyle. He's alive and well years and years later, even today. And he's very outspoken about it. They nearly killed him with the drug. He got off of it. He survived. And, again, to see that that New York Department of Health and schools are targeting minorities for termination, slow, painful termination via claiming to prevent something they may never get and is not even caused by the thing they're trying to prevent, that is HIV. I mean, this is, we talk about a church belief, a cult-like devotion. It's a death cult, and they're running it in our governments. And in New York, they're targeting blacks and Hispanics. So did you talk at all about this with Bobby Kennedy? Again, he's been outspoken about the Democrat Party, how it's abandoned the principles it may have once had in history of standing up for the little people against the man, against big government. And now they've become the party of big pharma and big government, and saying that anybody who questions the vaccine issue or the HIV issue is somehow anti-science and needs to be, dealt with accordingly, much less poisoning their children.
Yeah, well, we didn't go into much details, but as we were talking, he did ask me about my motivations, and I said, among the things I said was that I realized that the pharmaceutical companies, when it comes to vaccines, they are a bunch of bullies, and I don't like bullies. And he corrected me, said, no, they're thugs. And I think that captures the gist of his sentiment. And yes, he's commented on the Democratic Party. There's no secret. All you got to do is look at the states that have the strongest Democratic control, and those are the states where you see religious exemptions already taken away or in the process of being taken away. How did this happen? I don't know, but my family being African American, like most African Americans, we've always been loyal Democrats. I can't say that my loyalty can stay with the Democratic Party given what they're doing with the vaccines. How can you stay with the party that's taking away your constitutional right to religious freedom? How can you stay with the party that's aggressively pursuing policies that is definitely going to result in illnesses and death of children? I mean, I don't see how I could, or most black people, I don't see how they understand the facts, how they continue to support something like that. And Mr. Kennedy has talked about that in other presentations. And so I think African American community really needs to take a very close, hard look at their loyalties. Yeah, I know the popular thing is hate anything Trump says or does. If Trump says good morning, oh, that's racist or something. I mean, come on. I mean, they act like he's the worst president that ever existed. We've had some presidents that are a whole lot worse. But right now, I mean, I don't think we have a choice. If you want to become a slave and let the government dictate what medicines you and your children will take, well, then vote Democrat. If you think that people should have a choice, well, then, Republican or independent party, you've got to consider other options, or just staying home. But I don't see how we can blindly support a party that's doing what it is doing. I want to say one other thing about this drug that they're giving to Black Latino kids. My understanding is that this drug is supposed to be taken every single day of the child's life. That's scary for any drug. I don't care if it's aspirin. That's a bad thing. And I understand the cost is something like $24,000 per year per child. Now, you imagine the implications for all the millions of kids in the public school system. Not just in New York, but I assume they're probably going to expect nationwide. That is a windfall profit for the drug companies. And that's their incentive. They don't care about kids dying, being crippled. They don't care. It's the money.
Talk about redistribution of American wealth at every level and giving it to those poor pharmaceutical companies that just don't have enough, Curtis. You just don't have enough compassion for big pharma. Here's the article that, targets Cuomo. If they're targeting black people and Latino kids and no parental consent. Here's the article from Fed Up Democrat. Cuomo vaxxing and drugging kids with no parental knowledge, acting like the king. And the Democrats, who's putting up a stink about this? Of course, the people that are waking up to this are leaving New York. They're leaving California in droves, and some have gone to New Jersey, where we're covering the rising of the people to say, no more of this. Who cares if it's illegal when King Cuomo can regulate it? And this is a story. This came out just before the new year here. Cuomo signed a regulation in New York allowing children to be given preventive treatments for STDs without parental knowledge or consent. And again, the scam of HIV right here. HPV, the fact that you're going to know it's not working 30 years from now. And Hep B, all again, primarily sexually transmitted infections, if they even exist in terms of HIV. We doubt it. We dispute it. But again, this is the Democrat Party. This is not the Republican Party, and I'm not a fan of the Republican Party necessarily, but I acknowledge that on this particular issue, they have defended family choice and informed consent, where the Democratic Party has not.
Right. And I think it's also important that people take some time and start looking at what's happening in other parts of the world. In Argentina, they are mandating vaccines. You can be arrested. The police will come up to you and demand that you show your vaccination record for your children and yourself. I understand the same thing is being done in Brazil and Samoa. So those are like test cases to see how people respond. I mean, I see them as the elite putting out intelligence tests. Mm-hmm. They put out these little tests to see how we respond. And if we don't raise the ruckus over it, okay, no problem. They're letting us, we can go ahead with it.
Yeah.
So if you want to get an idea of where all this is going in America, we got to look at some of these other countries where there's less freedoms and things, because it's scary. I mean, we are literally heading to a situation where America becomes modern day slaves. Literally. I mean, that as literal as it could possibly be. When you don't have choice, and they have something like 270, I understand even more out there, that there are different stages of developing vaccines. All of that will be, if these laws pass, will be forced upon us. No choice. So it's not just about protecting the kids. So all the people out there who don't have kids or the kids are grown, you're not safe, because the law is already in development to mandate this for all adults, just like they're doing in some other countries.
But Curtis,
so we're all on the chopping block.
You know that a lot of adults will tell you, Curtis, there's no way I'm getting an adult vaccine. I've done my thing as a kid, right? You know they're going to say that. They do, and I get it. But what if, Curtis, they tie it to your driver's license, your ability to get on an airplane or enter a building or work or vote? Then suddenly you're like, what? You mean I can't go anywhere unless I have my vaccines that you say I have to have that I didn't want? Yeah, because it's tied now to your ID. That's not science fiction. That's the real ID. And the gold star, much like the Star of David that was put on my ancestors in Nazi Germany, to round them up and send them to death camps. This is what is inevitably happening through digitization of all our records, our social security numbers tied into this, the medical records, etc. And I've been, talking to folks about that. If your little ID has a gold star, they got you. They got you biometrically linked, and they can change the rules of the game at any point in time. That's not me making it up. That's what the law is written to say. The Department of Homeland Security head could be Democrat, Republican. It won't matter. When they decide there's an emergency, measles is back, Ebola is here, any number of, flu is bad this year. You can't get on this plane without the shot. And I know you haven't got it because it's not linked into your ID. And for the kids, we got Bill Gates and the invisible ink tattoos with micro needles that inject nanoparticulate that you can't visually see, that they can scan from a detector, even a cell phone, and that will allow them to know whether your kids have been vaccinated and they're up to date. And then eventually, when you give up your ID that you carry, you won't need it because it'll all be injected into you.
Yeah, scary stuff. And that's when they're being polite, because for the ones who still refuse to get vaccinated after they can't get a license, can't get on a plane, they're just going to send the police around and demand your ID card, and if you aren't vaccinated, they'll just throw you in jail. That's what they're doing in other places.
That is where this is going. That is what they'd like to be able to do. The question is, will the American people tolerate such behavior from their government? By and large, we have until this point. The question is, are you up for saying no to government? Are you up for nullifying them on the state level, or if the state doesn't do it, on the personal level, on your level? Or will you be led like lambs to slaughter? Will you be one of the sheeple? I know, Curtis, you're not, but we've got to talk straight on this stuff, and I appreciate so much that you do as well. And, waking up the folks in your community, letting them know what's really happening, and not letting them fall prey to the mantras coming from political parties or otherwise that have lulled us into a sense of false security and sleep and sheep.
Well, you're right. I mean, I know that those who believe that essentially more people or more kids and others are going to have to die and become crippled before enough people realize what's going on and really get upset. We're hoping that we could curtail some of that, but the ultimate power is with the people. That is the bottom line. Now, whoever has the greatest control over the mental image in the minds of the American people on this issue, those are the ones who are going to win. So if the elite can continue to get 95% of the population to believe that the vaccines are safe and effective, and everybody who says different is crazy, they're going to win. If we can change the image where people realize that there is risk, there are natural alternatives, and our constitutional freedoms are sacred and not negotiable, and can't be sold off to the pharmaceutical companies. If we can change that image and that narrative into the minds of the majority of American people, we will win. So right now, I see it as a battle for the minds of the American people. So we don't have a choice either. Those of us who've already woken up, as Mr. Kennedy said, once you know the science, you don't have a choice. So people who are fighting now, they're going to continue to fight. I mean, I know lots of people who are very affluent and don't have to do it, but they're doing it because they understand the seriousness of it. Right. And they're working feverishly to wake up their neighbors and church officials and things like that. So I think the movement is going to just grow exponentially. And Curtis, who's going to win? I don't know.
Curtis, I know what's going to happen in Texas. I know what's going to happen in Texas if they try to go door to door to vaccinate. They're going to be like, come on. They know the Second Amendment down there. The question is, what about New York? What about your friends in Harlem? Do they understand the importance of the Second Amendment as the last ditch effort to stop tyranny in defense of liberty?
Well, I've been in communication with the Nation of Islam, and the Nation of Islam understands the seriousness of it, and they will be present at the rally in Albany and in other activities that are being scheduled. And the Nation of Islam has a lot of support in the Black community, even though they may not be members. And other efforts are underway to wake up more and more people. So things are in the works.
This is where
waking up important people.
Curtis, this is where Jews, Christians, and Muslims can come together. They really could on this issue and should.
Absolutely.
And again, I know you're working on that as well, and I appreciate you so much. Real quick, before I let you go, the videos from the presentations from the debate and the debate itself from the Great Harlem Debate, you say they're almost ready to be made available for everyone.
Right. In different formats, a DVD, or you can be able to watch it streaming, pay-per-view type of thing. So hopefully most of that will be in place within the next week or so. I encourage everybody just go to my website, www.vaccinesaredangerous.com, and I'll have updates on it. But I would say within the next 2 weeks, they'll be available. And it's more than just a debate, because the debate is just one part of it. I had a whole separate forum where we had Del Bigtree give keynote presentation that was amazing. Brooke Jordan, Rita Palmer, a lot of people gave great, phenomenal presentations, named some other names the average person, most people haven't heard of before. It's in the second part. And on top of that, we have interviews with the various panelists and speakers, and we have the debate after the debate. Most people realize after everything was over, which was around 8 something, a lot of people didn't leave. They were still there for another hour or more, arguing and debating, including Del Bigtree. I have that on the tape, so it's going to be a
bonus
dynamic tape,
time,
and,
man.
People are going to be able to watch it and see all the fireworks.
That'll be awesome. Y'all, vaccinesaredangerous.com. Curtis Cost, he's welcome here anytime. He made it through traffic in time to get here on time. Thank you, Curtis. You're looking great, man. You dressed up way more than I did today. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, well, I kept this on in my disguise. But thank you. It's always an honor, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you so much. When we come back, Super Don's going to dive into the goop. We're both going to. We're going to talk about it and science as well on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Thank you to Curtis Cost. We appreciate him so very much. Links are up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com. Say thanks to our friends at Living Fuel. Casey Krejci giving us some supplementation, some real food, in addition to what you might be lacking. We'll be right back.
Living Fuel. Upgrade your meal today. Imagine if you had a single meal which contained more protein than a half-dozen organic egg whites, more fiber than 2 bowls of steel-cut organic oatmeal, more vitamin D than 10 fillets of Arctic fish, more vitamin B12 than 50 servings of raw organic cheese, more vitamin E than 1 pound of raw organic almonds, more calcium than 2 glasses of whole organic milk, more potassium than 2 organic bananas, more phytonutrients than 10 fresh organic green salads, more antioxidants than 10 bowls of fresh vine-ripe organic berries, more omega-3 than 2 cups of organic edamame, more resveratrol than 4 glasses of wine, more probiotics than 6 cups of yogurt, more enzymes than 3 whole organic papayas, more vitamin C than 7 oranges. That would cost $268.13 per meal and equal to 14,124 calories. Imagine all that nutrition in a single super meal you can afford. Now, you don't have to imagine anymore. Living Fuel, the super meal you can drink. Upgrade your meal today.
Thanks again to Casey Krejci for supporting this broadcast program by supporting the hardware and the software. He's amazing, and we love our Living Fuel. We're going to dive into the goop right now. What does that mean? You know, I said Super Don's going to dive into the goop. Have you ever dove into goop? And that is that like a pool that has not been cleaned? It sounds kind of scary. Are we talking?
That's what you had for dinner.
I did. I talked about that. I dove into the goop last night, and I was like, it doesn't taste like much. My kids were like, this is awesome, Mom. So what kind of goop are we talking about here, Super D? And have we discussed it before?
We have. Goop is the name of the company, the huge, very successful company that Gwyneth Paltrow founded and is a big player, big influence in the wellness space.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, listen, the reason why I even know about it is because there are some folks in the news that have decided that they don't like her. And so it was a couple of years ago, she came out with some products that the medical establishment took issue with.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a vaginal egg. And, you know, listen, if you say vagina in the news and everybody like suddenly clicks, right? You know,
I think the one time we said it in the title of our show when we had, who was on, we were talking about birthing and breastfeeding. It was like Joni. Right? Yeah. And suddenly I was like, wow, we got a lot more views on that show. It's like, what is it with that?
Oh, man, people came out of the woodwork to go see why we were talking about vaginas. So anyway, apparently Netflix has decided to give Gwyneth Paltrow and her company Goop a show called The Goop Lab. And the folks over at Forbes, I don't know why, but the folks over at Forbes, and there are other news outlets that
I think they got an egg. I think they got an egg up their butt at Forbes over this. They really don't like Gwyneth Paltrow. They're like,
they don't. And
this Bruce Lee, remember we've covered it. Bruce Lee writes a lot of stuff for Forbes, and he's like pro-vaccine, anti-whatever.
And he's very snarky, and it's kind of funny. He has a funny writing style.
So he says, Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's Netflix show is called Goop, the Goop Lab. And then he says, where is the science? So are they, they're not so opposed to Goop as much as that there's the word lab in the title?
Lab, absolutely.
Because you might think that science might be involved, right?
How dare you? You know, it's almost like if she came out with a show and she called it the Goop Monastery. Or
would that be okay?
The Goop Convent or the Goop Archdiocese or something.
Right.
You know, it's almost like a religious thing that these people that are the gatekeepers of everything science have taken issue with Gwyneth Paltrow because they're going, you can't use the word lab. There's no science in what it is you're doing. You're using the word lab, and that's sacrilege when you're using something.
I'll be honest. I haven't looked into her website or what she promotes herself. Obviously, we've covered the silly stories about, if I can call them silly stories, vaginal steaming. I don't have a vagina, so I don't know about it. But like I said, I don't have an opinion per se. I don't know you other than what Ricky Gervais says. Was she involved with Weinstein at a certain point? And was she one of the people that looked the other way? I mean, there are some genuine issues of a news cycle that I would go, I don't know about Gwyneth Paltrow, but you got to give her props at least for standing up and going, you know what? I'm just going to be all about this. And you can say whatever you want about it. I'm just going to be all about this, whatever this is.
Paltrow is one of those people, after reading about her, she had a long piece, and I can't remember what magazine it was in, but I read about her, and she's going to give her backstory about how she created this company. And it started off apparently as like a newsletter. And it grew from a newsletter into this giant multi-million-dollar company. And they made a target of her a while back. And she is just not somebody to mess with. I really respect her a lot. And she's a good actress, too. She played Tony Stark's significant other.
Right, I remember. You know, this is just to bring up that other controversy of like... there are talented people in Hollywood in terms of their ability to be skilled at their craft, whether it be acting or whatever. And they could be scums of the earth behind the scenes. You know, we've talked about some people that hold the pro-vaccine religious views. And it's, like I said, it's one thing to believe in them, and that's fine. It's another thing to denigrate our friends who have vaccine injured or killed children or have been harmed by them. And that shows a lot about your lack of integrity or character. Again, I don't know where Gwyneth is on this. I just bring that up in a general sense that, you know, some people are mad at us for covering the story, Super Don, because they're like, Gwyneth Paltrow, we hate Gwyneth Paltrow. I was like, I don't know her. I haven't looked into her much to know what she promotes or not. But, it's just interesting.
Okay, I'll give you an example. And this is one of, listen, whenever they want to go after Gwyneth Paltrow, they go after the vaginal egg.
Yeah.
And things like vaginal steaming, right? Which is something we've talked about on the show. And then the other thing they go after her is because she sells on her website let me see if I can find here. It's it's $135 Implantorama system. It's an at-home coffee enema.
Oh, well, I mean, I give her props for that, right? No, that's good.
Right. See, now you like her, right?
Well, again, I don't know her. I just, we're trying to take it at face value, what this Goop thing, it's a business. It's an entrepreneurial thing. It's gone big. Obviously, she's trading on her celebrity, but she tends to be more holistically oriented. Grant her some credit for that. But this secondary article here, check this out, another Forbes article. Boy, they don't like her at Forbes. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop should stay in its lane, far away from people with cancer. You know what? Oncologists should stay far away from people with cancer because they're more likely to kill them than the cancer, in my opinion. But okay, we got our perspectives. So this is her attacking the Goop Lab, another writer at Forbes. I mean, it's not like one. We got two writers now going after her. What is she doing in this Goop Lab? I don't even know what this show is about.
They cover, and listen, I mean, of all the things that you could watch on Netflix, right? I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Netflix, but there's some crazy crap on there. Right?
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Goop has published some truly bizarre content on cancer topics, like this article by an osteopath saying that underwire bras could cause breast cancer. So they're attacking the reality that if you restrict lymphatic flow and blood flow to the breast tissue, that it doesn't cause problems. Wow. So no, I like I said, whether you like Gwyneth Paltrow or whatever she stands for, if she's published an article about underwire bras contributing to breast cancer, that's a good, legitimate article that should be everywhere. And they're critiquing.
I mean, she definitely promotes a lot of the same stuff that in the wellness space that we would agree with. But on this particular show that she's going to be doing on Netflix, apparently she's going to be looking into things like energy healing.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
talking about exorcisms, psychedelics, which is something that a lot of people are interested in.
Mm-hmm.
When we get into the ayahuasca, area and things like that and stuff, talking about psychic mediums and stuff like that. Well, listen, whenever you say any of those words, those are like those are
charged
like,
words.
head explosion words for skeptics. They just are. And so they hate her because that she has become so successful at what she's doing, and they can't seem to touch her.
Yeah.
And so that's like waving a feather around with a cat. I mean, they're just going to keep running after her, trying to catch it because they can't stand that sort of thing. They can't stand somebody that is successful.
Right. Well, yeah. Teresa says she liked her in Shakespeare in Love. That was a good movie. She was good in that. Yeah. Again, that was back in the Harvey Weinstein days, of course, all of that. So again, you look back, and now to you in retrospect today, I hated the movie. It's a weird thing. It really is, because you're dealing with people that, like Ricky Gervais called them out, and many of them are scum of the earth. Now, I don't know every individual. I mean, there could be people that are not related to any of that. How do I know? I'm not in that environment. But, it's like they have talent, undeniably. They're good at things, and yet in this issue, we go, well, Gwyneth is relating things that the mainstream media doesn't want related. The elite controllers of the pharmaceutical agenda, they don't want you to know that there are other options for cancer, prevention, reversing, etc.
And why can't we just talk about it?
Right.
And it's just another thing. It's like, you could go on Netflix and you could watch somebody talking about aliens or Bigfoot. Or, there's all kinds of things that people will do documentaries and shows and stuff about.
Do we have to, Super Don, do we have to now go back and like the movies we enjoyed in history and go, well, we don't enjoy them anymore because we don't like the people behind them and we know they're really bad and scummy? How do you deal with that? Or is that even an issue?
You know what I do?
What do you do?
I don't watch the stuff that I don't like. I mean, wow, what a concept, right? That doesn't mean I'm going to take it away so other people can't watch it or what. I've watched that. Have you ever watched that Ancient Aliens show with the guy?
My wife loves
with
that.
The hair
that,
is just like standing up on
in fact,
stuff like that.
Over the holidays, I watched a few episodes with my wife, and there's some fun stuff in those. It's entertaining for sure.
There was one I watched the other night. It was Ancient Aliens Declassified, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And I mean, the stuff they were talking about, it's neat and it's entertaining to watch. I didn't watch the whole show because it got to a certain point where it was just like, come on, this is one of those scenarios where if you look hard enough for something, you find it. Doesn't mean it's, but I mean, it's like, it just seems silly to me at one point. So I moved on. But there's a lot of those shows out there, like those stupid. I might offend somebody now. See, I'm going off on a rant here.
No, that's why I triggered you. I did.
Stupid ghost hunter shows.
Oh.
I hate those things where they bring in all this equipment, night vision and stuff like that, and they walk into a room. Is there somebody here that would like to speak to? Oh wait, did you hear that?
Where'd you go?
Did you hear that? The guy next holding the camera farted, and they think that it's a ghost trying to communicate with them and stuff. And they're so dumb because people are glued to those TV shows for an hour. They're just like, oh, they're waiting to see the ghost, and at the end of the show, there's nothing. And the people just watch them show after show after show where they tease you like they're gonna discover something, and they find nothing.
Yeah, well, that's it is kind of funny, Super D, because there are shows like that where I don't know if that one in particular, but where you'd watch these shows where they pretend that they're going to discover something and they never do. It's kind of like Geraldo Rivera and or some kind of vault. And I'm like, dude, don't waste your time on that. But then there's one out there, Curse of Oak Island. Have you heard about this one? They're finding stuff.
Yeah, well, they do, but they don't. Or it's like Expedition Unknown was another one.
Right.
Like,
yeah, most of them they don't. They're hooked.
The secret Nazi gold of blah, 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 and then they go and they do the thing. And at the end of the show, they never find what they're looking for, ever. Never, ever.
Those annoyed me too. But I have to say, my wife and son like the Oak Island one, and recently they've been finding some interesting stuff. I got to give them props. Finally,
they do a good job with that show, and I've seen a few episodes, and it caught my interest. But
dude,
honestly,
I guess this is when we talk about goop. This is where the conversation goes.
And I know we're not talking about goop now, but
it's okay.
Anyway, so listen, I really respect Gwyneth Paltrow for two reasons: because she created a very successful business, and number two, because the more they try and attack her, the more she tells them to go stick it up their butt, And I'm not talking about the coffee enema. So,
oh my gosh,
I do respect that, and I think it's funny because you see these skeptic people, especially in the media, and Forbes has several of them where they just mumble and walk into walls. They can't stand the idea that Gwyneth Paltrow has been given a show on Netflix. But honestly, go take a look at 98%
what's on there,
of the crap that's on Netflix, and I'd much rather
watch.
That's
an upgrade. That's an upgrade. You know what was an upgrade? It was like the 4th or 5th year he did it. Ricky Gervais hosted the award show Golden Globes, which is like the foreign press. And we talked about it briefly yesterday. It's still, he got apparently 300,000 new Twitter followers that day, the next day. And honestly, I was one of them. I was like, I give people props. They could be leaning left, right there, but they're willing to make fun of themselves, or even those that are aligned with them politically, because I don't think anybody would normally claim that Ricky Gervais is a right-wing, conservative, Republican supporting actor or comedian. Yet apparently those in Hollywood are accusing him of just that thing. And Ricky Gervais, he's wondering, how is it that teasing corporations, elite Hollywood, is right-wing? It's like suddenly he's persona non grata among the Hollywood left because he pointed out some nasty stuff about their dirty little secrets, whether it be pedophilia, etc. And it's like, you know what? The only people that are upset with him are probably those that are engaging or enabling or hiding those people that are doing these horrible, horrible things. So in his tweet, let's see if it's here. He'll drop F-bombs and such. But how the F can teasing huge corporations and the richest, most privileged people in the world be considered right-wing? # Golden Globes. That was his response. And I think Vanity Fair writer, Entertainment Weekly writer, they complained about he shouldn't be making fun of these hypocritical or celebrities because it's a right-wing talking point. And honestly, I mean, yeah, I saw some reports like on Fox News and Hannity going, man, this is great. This is the best thing ever. And I agree, but it wasn't because he was right-wing. It was just he was pointing out hypocrisy. And since when does that mean you're part of the right wing?
Yeah, it used to be at one time that the whole liberal, point of view was to go after the rich and the elite, right? But, oh, wait a minute. Not those rich and elite. So it's pretty funny. Because we're in a world right now, especially since Trump got elected, where everybody's lost their collective minds. And so now you are automatically labeled. It's the same thing, good analogy is when we're talking about people that will question a vaccine, not anti-vaxxer. He goes out there and he bashes Hollywood. Oh, he's a right-wing conservative, alt-right, whatever. You can't get away from the labels.
Who is this Mark Harris?
Ricky Gervais is not one of those guys you want to go after,
No, he doesn't. He'll push back. He's not going to back off on this. But who is this Mark Harris NYC? Is he with like one of those Entertainment Weekly editor, Mark Harris? He says, here's my Ricky Gervais problem. The idea that celebrities are not only pampered babies, but hypocrites who cause the problems. They make speeches deploring and should therefore shut up and act, sing, be grateful, is a right-wing talking point, and especially stupid one. Are they going after Laura Ingraham? Because didn't she write a book called Shut Up and Sing?
Shut Up and Sing.
Remember that?
Years ago. She did that, and it's true. It's like, and I happen to be one of them. That I will agree that when I go to see a movie or go to a concert, or watch an award show or something like that, I'm not looking for some type of political speech or some kind of message or whatever. I just want to go and be entertained, type thing. But celebrities feel, and listen, whatever, it's a free country. Some celebrities feel that they have a platform, right? And so they wanted to use that to try and accomplish something good or whatever. I don't care. I think after a while, what you have to do is when you watch these TV shows, or you watch these movies, you have to have kind of like a built-in filter where it's like you can just kind of take the global warming message or the whatever message that's in the movie, it just kind of isolate it, kind of like an antivirus program on your computer, right? You just kind of quarantine it and then but enjoy the rest of it for what it is. Some people can't do that, but that's what I've had to do.
Yeah. Let's see. What does Ricky say to all of this? Thanks for all your amazing comments about my Golden Globes monologue. Best reaction ever, and that means a lot to me. I had a blast, but you know what? It's over, so I can get back to my real job of editing Afterlife 2 and touring Supernature, make jokes, not war. And I think what we were drawn to, not just that they were making fun of Hollywood celeb Super Dom, but that it was just anti-PC. It was enough of the political correctness. And there are a lot of liberal comedians that are also disgusted by the politically correct restrictions on speech when it comes to humor. The willingness to make fun of any and all sides and be self-deprecating. And what we've seen in a lot of television and Hollywood shows, it's only been about bashing Trump, bashing the conservative right or so-called. And there are things to bash about anything. It's true. It can be. But it becomes so one-sided as to be like, you know what? It doesn't even have an effect anymore. Where's the integrity within, the willingness to see humor in literally everything and the fact that we need to laugh or we'll cry sometimes about stuff that's going on? So anyway, hey, thanks for chiming in on the Goop, and that was a fun conversation, not necessarily planned, never scripted. You never know what you're going to get except a level of integrity, health, freedom, and healing liberty here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Let's take a break for our friends at the United Kingdom for UK Health Radio. You're listening to the Robert Scott Bell Show. We're done, but we're not done. We're going to be back after this break with a lot more healing, and we'll see what questions or comments are popping up in social media. Listen at robertscottbell.com and share it with your friends because the power to heal is yours.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Check out a sweet offer that my friends at Better Way Health give. This is an immune boosting supplement that you can't get anywhere else.
Beta-glucan activates and enhances your immune response to invaders.
These things are brilliant for modulating the immune system.
Someone has a need for help in supporting their immune system, I'm looking at the glucan product.
It's amazing, and there's been an enormous amount of research done on this.
It's the most studied immunomodulator on Earth, with over 14,000 published studies referencing beta-glucan, and it's currently being tested in roughly 100 clinical trials.
If you like your dietary supplements with validated science, there's nothing that has more behind it than the beta-1,3-D-glucan from Better Way Health.
Probably the most heavily researched substances that I'm aware of that modulates the immune system.
It rebuilds your immune system.
Consistency and quality are everything.
Here, you want to see my supplement drawer? Here it is. Get ready.
I was putting together my research and I tripped on this supplement called beta-glucan.
There it is. It's very small. I take beta-glucans, immune booster.
You don't have to worry that you're overstimulating the immune system. We have been just amazed.
I take like 2 a day from Better Way Health.
It's been tested against about 36 other immune-boosting products and found to be superior.
If you have an immune system or you want one, beta-1,3-D-glucan, that transfer point is very unique. It's going to get the results that you're looking for. I support it and I use it.
Better Way Health, I got to tell you, you can spend more time, you can spend more money, but you cannot get better service than you're going to get from those guys down there. They are truly 24 karat.
The brand you want to get is called Transfer Point Beta-1,3-D-glucan. and you can get it from betterwayhealth.com. Let's spread the message about beta-glucans. It's a powerful substance from nature that can help you.
All right, bonus territory on the Robert Scott Bell Show. We have got some questions and comments coming in. Did anybody really enjoy our kind of, I don't know if it was a frivolous conversation that we just had on Goop that led to other Hollywood stuff, but I always love just chatting with you, my friend, Super Don. You are just, they're fun because you don't hold back, and that's what we like, and I think people love it.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I try and be good sometimes, but
you try and be good.
Yeah. I don't know. Just everybody has those things where it's just like all of a sudden you're just like, okay, now that's something I've got a strong opinion on. So
yeah. And I'm sensitive to people that have obviously strong viewpoints on medicine, on healing, and things like that. Because you get just like the intolerance of the basement dwellers on our health freedom argument. There's intolerance from some of them in the Christian community on natural remedies. Remember, there's some angles that they say, oh, it's the devil, right? Sometimes we'll say homeopathy. You've heard that. And I'm thinking, weigh it out. It's like modern medicine, third leading cause of death in 250 or 200 some odd years, 220 years of homeopathy. Nobody has evidenced any deaths from it other than to argue that, oh, you didn't take a drug, right? That's it.
And you're right. In this space, there are certain factions that have issues with each other because there are some. In fact, I think there was even a comment in our chat room here when we were talking about Gwyneth Paltrow. Some people consider some of the stuff that she promotes and sells as witchcraft.
But the true origin of witchcraft, pharmakia, remember? It's big pharma. That's the real witchcraft.
Look, I understand. There are people that, they have very strong religious beliefs. So if you start talking about energy healing or crystals or things of this nature, that's just they don't like it. They run the other direction doing this, and it's like that's all right, whatever. I mean, that's how you feel. There are other people that feel differently, and the thing is I usually try and run the other way. As fast as I can when it gets into those types of topics, because that's a no-win situation.
Well, and that's where I always try to say, I'm directing you back to your creator, back to God, and let spirit direct you as far as what is or what isn't. Whether Gwyneth Paltrow is a hero for natural medicine or not, we're not arguing that, but just acknowledging, a story that Forbes didn't like because the Goop lab suddenly is like, oh, somebody might think she's scientific. I'm like, dude, the people that are promoting drugs and vaccines are anything but scientific. And that's a fact. And they are promoting witchcraft, big pharma primarily. So if you're going holistic and not killing anybody, I think it's if it's called witchcraft by some of you, I don't know how. I guess we got to alter the definition. I just don't know. And then I love, again, what Ginger Taylor is doing to try and educate folks in the medical profession that claim to be Christians to say, hey, look at what you're doing. You might not realize how not Christian you are or behaving by your promotion of these deadly ingredients being injected, including aborted fetal tissue, et cetera. So, I know we wade into controversy. It's not like we're afraid to do so. We had one lady that said she's never listening to us again the other day. Remember? She said the key was so expensive. That was like, I'm like, what am I going to do? I was like, she said I was triggered because she said I can't afford it. I'm like,
she said she felt verbally stomped on and like a half an inch tall after.
I think she's taken it too personally. And
I get. I mean, I guess it just all depends on where you're coming from. It's not like you wanted to hurt her feelings.
No, I was trying to encourage her just to kind of get out of the way and allow spirit to just flow whatever way. It wasn't you have to buy this. That wasn't about that at all.
Because she sent in a letter talking about how she wanted to get the key home cell but it was too expensive, so she figured she would just buy a bunch of antioxidants and
I supported her in that. I said that's good. You do have to, So I don't know what it was that was lost in translation. She called me a preacher man. Well, this is my healing ministry on the air, and I'm not here to tell you what to do. So I don't know why she took it that way.
That was the day you were wearing the suit jacket with the turtleneck.
Yeah,
and so
maybe that was it. I was intimidating with a suit
jacket. You had kind of an evangelical thing going on that day.
See, today I got my hoodie, my GT's hoodie, so you can
You're
listen.
Kind of gangster today.
Does that look pretty scary if I do that?
That's
How do you like
gangster,
the hoodie look?
Yeah.
They're going to ban me now because he's wearing a hood, right? What do I got under here? I got a new T-shirt. I like this. It's kind of cool. So anyway, Super Don, did you see the news on 250 Iranians trampled to death during the funeral for their leader?
I saw that.
That's not a good funeral when you have 250 additional dead people.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
You talk about mob rule, mob mentality, insanity in groups.
That's pretty bad when you go to a funeral and 250 people get trampled. I don't know. I guess you got 250 funerals now to go to. But
by the way, did you see this? I had a double yoke yesterday. On the bottom of that picture.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a double yoke? That's so rare. I was like,
been
wow.
a long time. Yeah, I've had it happen before.
That was cool.
You ever had a chicken?
No, I haven't had a chicken.
A baby chicken in an egg when you go to open an egg? And
no. No, I haven't had that. That's kind of
no.
But yeah, in Asia they'll eat them that way.
Yummy.
Raw. Yeah.
Yummy. Yes.
Yeah. So it was a good organic egg. Yeah, for sure. Farm fresh. Let's see. Leslie says, I can't currently afford the key home until unit either. That doesn't mean my circumstances won't change tomorrow or later today. Yeah, Leslie's not offended by me saying, hey, this is a good thing if you can get it. I want people to be able to get it. But at the same time, I've talked about other strategies to minimize the danger and damage of harmful EM fields, including, turning off your router at night, utilizing more, selenium. We've even talked about the homeopathic remedies that address EM, responses of the body. And, so anyway, I don't know. I think she was leading with her ego. Her ego was playing a bigger role because this wasn't about ego. This is about helping folks,
The question, here's the thing. If somebody writes you a letter and they say, I really want to get one of these, but it's way too expensive and I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to buy some antioxidants. Thank you. Her name was Grace. Grace.
Yeah.
Well, when I read that, it's like, okay, so what's the purpose of this letter that you have?
It was I think it was a complaint letter.
Are you in a roundabout way complaining that
the
price is too high and you want us to do something about it?
Yeah.
Do you want us to send you a free one because you can't afford it?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it that you were wanting to do?
Maybe
just bring it to our attention that it was an expensive item?
Maybe she was offended that I said to pray on it. Some people are, I guess, because, as I say, I just don't like to be the obstacle of any gift for me or anybody else. Like, I don't want to get in the way. If I'm supposed to have something, if I say I can't as my first word, I'm just kind of stopping the flow. I have the freedom to say, no, I can't. And you go, okay, then it's true.
And you know what, Robert, there's really something to that because I have noticed there have been times in my life, especially as I've gotten older and wiser, that a lot of times that's all you got to do is just get out of the way.
Yeah.
And if it's meant to be, then things happen and they just kind of come through and things work out. Things always end up working out somehow anyway, one way or another. But, if it's something where you're not supposed to get it, then you won't.
Super deep. You know how many times I've had to uncover hidden thought forms or programs in me that were blocking me from experiencing something that I needed to experience because I was like, no, I was programmed to not believe it was possible, for instance. I could never be in talk radio if I believed everybody that told me what you are doing is not possible. It's impossible, right? I'm already doing it. And I'm like, if I'd have believed them when they said that's not possible, why would I have even attempted it?
Yeah.
How many times are we told, no, you can't do that? And then we agree and we tell ourselves we can't. And whether you believe you can or you can't, it's true. It becomes factual. That's the power of belief, of course, that starts things in motion.
The flip side of that, how many times in your life, and I'm sure everybody's experienced this at one time or another, where there's something that you think you really want. And so you just chase after that thing as hard as you can. And it seems like the harder you chase after it, the further it gets, but you keep going and going. And, you've got just terrible things happening. Your life's crashing down all around you and bigger problems are springing up as a result. And you're still going for that. And then as soon as you stop running for it,
you're like, dude, if I would have,
you figure something out.
If I would have gotten that at that moment, it would have been a disaster. And you're like, that's like Garth Brooks. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Right? You remember that? Remember that?
Right.
It's like, we don't always know the right time frame.
That's true.
It's just like anything, having a home, whatever it is. So, Bolden, wearing the same hoodie today. Thank you, Bolden. Hey, by the way, Michael, your ears were burning today. I was interviewed on K-Talk by Lowell after my Real ID talk on Friday. And he mentioned the 10th Amendment Center because of that big slide I had. And Michael Bolden, I don't know if he's interviewed you, Michael, but he really appreciates the 10th Amendment Center and nullification. So that was cool. That was on radio. Somebody asked, let's see, where is your Real ID talk? On Facebook, my friend Kristen Chevrier had put it up on her personal page because she was getting blocked on her Your Health Freedom page. And I think there was another friend, Corey, was there who was videotaping it, and I sent him the PowerPoint presentation, so I don't know where or when he's going to embed that, so it'll actually be maybe even a better version of it, of the talk that I did on Real ID on Friday. Ula was listening this morning. She messaged me on the radio. Thank you, Ula, for being there, supporting me. It was a pretty intense discussion. Let's see. Leslie says, actually, when you talked about, the other day you talked about reminding us always pray and trust God, Yahweh, for my provision. Right. And that's why I try to direct people to that, because as I feel like my role and goal as a healer is to relink people to the source of all healing. After that, my job's easy, because they're going to be directed to do what they need to do. Now, I can give them some guideposts because of my experience, but always trying to remind people your connection to the source of all sources is what's most important. And if you're offended by that,
yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's that. And my wife still loves me, so we're all good. We're all good.
All right. So
what? Michael just said he's great, so he must know Lowell, the guy that interviewed me. Good friend. Yeah, good guy. Good people here.
All right. So we did have a question. Somebody was asking about what your opinion was on this Cosiva brand of TRS spray for detoxification.
Toxin and contaminant removal system. I'm just looking at it right now. It looks like it might be multi-level. I don't know. They claim it's what? Zeolite, proprietary zeolite. It says proprietary process clinoptilolite. So some form of a variation of a zeolite. That's a 1 ounce bottle, less than 1 ml. Is it dose or is it? No, it's part of it out of that whole bottle. So I'm guessing this is homeopathic, but they're not claiming it's homeopathic. They say to use 2 sprays in the morning and 3 sprays in the evening. Overview. So it's a detoxifier of some kind. I don't have a comment on it, but it's probably overpriced. I don't even know how much it costs, but if it's an MLM, they have to jack up the price so they can pay out on so many levels and layers.
Breakthrough nanotechnology.
Yeah.
And performs it all on a cellular level.
So I think that, with zeolites, we've talked about it, that the zeolites are contaminated unless they're somehow decontaminated before you take them. A lot of the zeolites, they said, look, you take it, look what comes out. And, of course, it's what came in right away and it went right back out. With this form, I don't think it's toxic, based on what I anticipate is technically a homeopathic, but they're not claiming it to be so. So it sounds like it's harmless. Will it elicit a detox? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know enough about the product other than my impressions here as we just briefly looked at it. So if you're getting good success and it's not bankrupting you, go ahead. For me, it's selenium and chromium. It's detox tea. It's the dandelion I like to do. It's, come back to selenium again. There are a lot of things we can do. Ayurvedic herbs, homeopathic drainage remedies. You can do frequencies in the echo water for your liver. There's a lot of good things you can do. So, any other questions coming in through Facebook Live or YouTube or Periscope?
No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. I just love today, by the way, that they can't market the flu shot for flu, so they're going to repackage it for curing cancer. That was classic.
Yeah, we see stuff like that. Look, whatever. I mean, look, we can't criticize science for exploring stuff, I guess. Whatever.
Repurposing bad products.
You got some extra flu shots laying around. You thought,
I
let's see if we can kill cancer with it. Fine.
I really wanted to say for brains. I really did.
I know. Yeah, so kind of crazy. So check it out. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We're going to go outside the box with Ty Bollinger. And I came across an article today that coins a new a term I've never seen before.
What is that?
Chemotherapy truther.
Whoa, chemo truthers. This is going to be interesting. Tomorrow, you don't want to miss that.
We're going to explore that tomorrow with Ty Bollinger.
Good. TMB has been off for 2 weeks because Christmas and New Year's was the day we do outside the box. So he's probably pent up and ready to go, man. He's ready to unleash on this. Chemo truthers. Wow. We're going to find out what that is.
Thursday, we should have Jonathan Emord on. We got some catching up to do with what's going on in Washington, especially in light of this situation with Iran.
When can we get Bolden on?
He's never available.
He's upsetting everybody.
He's too busy.
Right?
He's too busy taking selfies.
His
with
principled
street
stance
tacos
on the Constitution is upsetting all the people that are always Trumpers versus the never
he's
Trumpers.
gotta-
But the Democrats have now found the Constitution. Did you find that interesting? He should have consulted us in Congress.
I've been talking with quite a few people about that who've asked me because
Yeah.
people come to me. So what's going on with that thing with the
Yeah.
brand and stuff like that? So I give them my opinion, and that's exactly where I'm at.
When
where
is
it's just
Obama
suddenly-
bombing the stuff? The Democrats didn't complain about. Oh, he needs to consult us.
It wasn't Obama. You had Bush before him.
I know.
You had Clinton. Every president I think has ordered a military strike and killed people.
It's just,
I'm not a.
We're the
you know.
principled folks. This is about the Constitution. Anybody?
Yeah.
Hello. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, at least, don't be a hypocrite. But again, we're talking about politicians, so you know.
Sarah says that bottle we were looking at is $50 and it lasts a month. So if it doesn't bankrupt you and it's helping you, it looks like it's probably homeopathic. They're just not claiming it. That's my sense of it. Is there a crystal that cures cancer and is banned in the U.S.? Please ask the chemo truthers about it tomorrow. Okay. Jimmy Carter didn't order new strikes. Okay. We got a Jimmy Carter fan suddenly popped up in the chat room there. I don't know.
No.
Sorry to interrupt you, Super D. I'm just kind of rolling with
right.
it today. I'm having a fun time with you, just kind of riffing today. So
Nope.
anyway. Stevie the Shrimpster. Make sure that RSB show merchandise has V-neck shirts to offer. Love the logo. Ooh.
What? Stevie
the Shrimpster.
The Shrimpster? What is that?
That's Steve Feld's new nickname, according to Ula. Stevie the Shrimpster.
Stevie the Shrimpster?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. But we're getting quotes. We're working on getting quotes on the T-shirts, so we're getting closer. I'm going to check out some local options as well. I don't know if there are any up there, Super D, by you. I know we got online options, so we're looking. Getting closer.
Looking forward to that.
All right. Can we get James on for Friday, maybe? James Lyons-Weller? Has he responded? Weiler?
I just emailed him just a few minutes ago, so we'll see if we can get something happening with him. We'll maybe get him on before the end of the week.
That'd be nice.
Yep.
All right, y'all. If we have any more updates out of New Jersey, obviously we'll be reporting on them live here. Oh, yes, he takes very long baths tuning into the Robert Scott Bell Show, right? He watches the show from the bath. He's so funny. Scoop necks. I don't even know what scoop necks are. Teresa, scoop neck. What's a scoop neck? I'm not fashion conscious. I need more help with fashion. V-necks, I understand. Turtlenecks, I understand. Scoop necks, I don't know. I like V-necks. Glad you like the design. Steve's on. Oh, okay, I didn't know Steve was with us. He and his wife, his real wife, came by as opposed to the fictitious wife that we never met. It took a year for her to come out and come see us. She's wonderful. She's lovely. It was great to see them. Your nephew does T-shirts too. Jeremy does T-shirts too. Oh, yeah, I should check with my nephew out in Florida. They do T-shirts. Let's see what they can offer us. Leslie says, great show. Leslie, hey, great listener, great viewer, and more. V-neck, shrimp neck. Yeah, I know who you meant, Mom. Grandma Mickey's chiming in. All right, so we'll put that out there for a bid, and we'll find out what's coming back tomorrow outside the box with Ty Bollinger. If he'll show. And anything else we got, we'll see what news stories are coming up. If you have questions or comments, please submit them at robertscottbell.com, and we'll be back tomorrow with more powerful healing. That is the place. This is the place. The Robert Scott Bell Show. Please share. Do share. Back tomorrow. Power to Heal is yours.